I adored my father. He's the parent I felt an affinity with, the one I thought understood me. I traced to him my love of words, of language, of reading, and of writing. When my father was home, he was often sitting at his desk, writing. That remained his favorite place to be, his favorite thing to do, until he died 2 weeks before his 98th birthday. I don't know if I was emulating him or expressing the genes he passed on, but when I was a child, the object I loved most was an old black manual typewriter with yellowing keys rimmed in tarnished silver. I typed poems and stories and letters to my father, telling him what happened to me during the day, often laying out grievances against my mother. I talked to my father through letters because, when I was growing up, he was rarely home. The strongest presence I felt in the house was his absence. A sense of yearning for him stayed with me long after I was grown. A dream I had in my 30s was typical. I'm having a birthday party. My father is there, but he's suspended about 2 feet off the floor with his head near the ceiling. I don't know what he's doing up there. He doesn't seem to be doing anything, just floating in his own world. I can't reach him. He doesn't seem to hear me or see me. I desperately try to make contact with him, but he's stuck up there, and I can't get him to come down. After my father retired at 70, he had time to spend with me and talk to me. And during the nearly 30 years left to us before he died, he did a great deal of both. Yet I'm seeking him still. A character in a story by Ethan Kanan says of a TV show he turned on in the middle, "I've entered too late to understand." That's what it's like to try to understand our parents. We came into their lives too late. But we keep trying, keep crafting our own personal creation story, maybe creation myth. By writing this book, I'm trying to figure out what happened in my father's life before I came in. My parents both helped by living to be very old. As they aged, their internal sensors fell, and they told me things about their marriage that made me question everything I'd thought about their relationship, about relationships between women and men, and about the circumstances of my birth. My father helped especially because he was ever eager to talk about his past, and because he left me mountains of words, not only the hours and hours of conversations we had, but also stacks of letters and notes that he saved and memories that he wrote down for me. I think I've come closer to understanding my father. I know I've come to see that his life story, as I heard it growing up and embellished it in my mind, the creation story I devised for myself, was in many ways a myth. My father's life traces the history of the 20th century. He was born in 1908 and died in 2006. I've always been proud that my parents were born in Europe, my father in Poland, my mother in Russia. When I was a child, I thought it exotic. As I got older, I liked that it gave me a closer connection to my European roots, compared to most American Jews of my generation whose parents were born here. It was their grandparents who came from Europe. But it wasn't until writing this book that I understood the significance of that difference, the ways that my parents' immigration reflects history. They came to the United States at the tail end of the massive influx that brought more than 2 million Eastern European Jews to the United States between 1880 and 1924. The year my father came, 1920, was the last year there were few limits on immigration from Europe. The very next year, the Statue of Liberty lowered her torch. In 1921, Congress imposed quotas, and in 1924, the year after my mother arrived, quotas were set so low that the doors effectively slammed shut. My father was raised in a Hasidic household in Warsaw and had astonishingly detailed memories of life in that community before, during, and immediately after World War I. He turned 12 2 weeks after arriving in the United States with his mother and sister. His father had long since died of tuberculosis. At 14, my father became the family breadwinner. He quit high school and went to work full-time in New York's garment district. He studied high school subjects on his own, passed a law school qualifying exam, attended law school at night, earned a master's degree in law, and passed the bar exam on his first try. But the Great Depression had descended, so he couldn't get work as a lawyer or build up a practice without first working for little or no pay. This he could not do, not then and not for many years after, because he was supporting first his mother and sister, then his wife and children. He was a communist and was investigated by the FBI. I have a copy of his file. Disillusioned with communism, he became active in New York's Liberal Party, a progressive third party closely tied to the Garment Workers Union, and he ran for city council and for Congress on their ticket. From the time he received his law degree at 21 to the time he began earning a living as a lawyer at 50, he held a dizzying number and array of jobs, including prison guard, parole officer, gun-toting alcohol tax inspector, and, from the time I was born until I was in junior high school, a cutter in the garment district. After that, my father was a partner in his own law firm. His is an American story, an immigrant story.